Chosen one, everyone's talking about you. Not because you are loud, not because you are trying to prove yourself, but because something changed. Something happened inside you that people cannot explain. The words you spoke carried a weight they were not expecting. They were simple. They were calm. Yet somehow they cut through every mask, every lie, every hidden motive. They were not powerful because they were clever. They were powerful because they came from a heart that had been shaped through pain. Listen carefully. Some people are not talking about you because they hate you. They are talking about you because they cannot understand how someone who has suffered so much still carries peace. How someone who has been rejected still chooses kindness. How someone who has been overlooked still walks with confidence. How someone who has cried in secret still smiles in public. That mystery troubles them. You thought your silent battles went unnoticed. You thought your lonely prayers disappeared into the night. You thought your tears fell where no one could see them. But God saw every single one, every sleepless night, every unanswered question, every moment you wanted to quit, every time your heart broke while you still chose forgiveness. Nothing was wasted. Sometimes the greatest work God does is the work that no one else can see. While people were measuring your success by what appeared on the outside, God was transforming your heart. While others chased applause, He was teaching you faithfulness. While people celebrated quick victories, He was building a foundation inside you that storms could not destroy. Hear this clearly. Being chosen has never meant having an easy path. Throughout the Bible, those whom God called often walked through seasons of isolation before they stepped into their purpose. They were misunderstood. They were questioned. They were tested. Not because God had abandoned them, because He was preparing them. Perhaps that is exactly where you are today. You have watched friendships fade. You have watched doors close. You have watched people misunderstand your intentions. At times you wondered if you were doing something wrong. But maybe the separation was not punishment. Maybe it was preparation. Think about a seed. Before anyone celebrates the harvest, the seed disappears beneath the ground. From the outside, it looks forgotten, buried, hidden. But beneath the surface, life is beginning. Roots are growing where no one can applaud. Strength is developing where no one can see. The hidden season is not the end of the story. It is the beginning. Maybe your life has felt buried. Maybe your prayers seem unanswered. Maybe you feel like everyone else is moving ahead while you remain in the same place. Do not mistake hiddenness for hopelessness. God often works in silence before He works in public. Silence does not mean absence. Silence often means preparation. Listen carefully. There are battles you survived that people know nothing about. They saw your smile. They never saw your struggle. They saw your progress. They never saw your prayers. They saw your strength. They never saw how many times you almost gave up. Yet here you are, still standing. Not because you were always strong, but because God's grace carried you one day at a time. There were moments when all you had was faith. Not perfect faith, not fearless faith. Just enough faith to whisper one more prayer. Enough faith to take one more step. Enough faith to believe that tomorrow might look different than today. And that was enough. God does not ask you to know everything. He asks you to trust Him one step at a time. Sometimes we want the entire picture. God gives us the next step. Sometimes we want immediate answers. God gives us daily strength. Sometimes we want the mountain removed. God teaches us how to climb. That journey changes us. Hear this clearly. Not everyone can go where God is leading you. Some people were assigned to a season, not a lifetime. This truth can hurt, especially when you loved them, especially when you prayed for them, especially when you imagined they would celebrate your future. Instead, they questioned your growth. They resisted your change. They became uncomfortable with the peace that God was building inside you. Growth changes relationships. Sometimes the people who understood the old version of you struggle to recognize the new one. Do not hate them. Pray for them. But do not stop growing. God never asks us to remain spiritually small so others can stay comfortable. There is a reason your heart has become more sensitive. A reason certain conversations no longer satisfy you. A reason some places no longer feel like home. You are changing. Your priorities are changing. Your desires are changing. The things that once distracted you no longer hold the same power. This is not because you are better than anyone else. It is because God continues to shape your heart. Transformation often feels lonely, but loneliness is not always emptiness. Sometimes it becomes the quiet place where faith grows deepest. Listen carefully. The world often celebrates what is immediate. God often values what is eternal. People rush, God prepares. People compare, God transforms. People judge appearances. God looks at the heart. Never forget that. Your value has never depended on applause. It has always rested in the one who created you. You do not have to earn his love. You do not have to perform for his acceptance. You are invited to walk with him daily, trusting that his purposes are good even when the road is difficult. There will always be voices trying to define you. Some will remind you of your mistakes. Others will question your calling. Some will underestimate your future because they only remember your past. But your identity is not determined by the loudest voice around you. It is grounded in God's faithful love. That truth changes everything. Because when you know who you are in Christ, criticism loses much of its power. Fear begins to loosen its grip. Comparison begins to fade. Hope begins to rise again, and slowly, quietly, faithfully, God rebuilds what life tried to break. So if today you feel overlooked, do not lose heart. If today you feel misunderstood, keep walking in love. If today you feel isolated, remember that many seasons of preparation happen in places where only God can see. He is not finished with your story. The chapter you are living is not the final page. The tears you cried are not meaningless. The prayers you whispered are not forgotten. The waiting has a purpose. The silence has a purpose. Even the heartbreak has a purpose. One day you will look back and realize that the moments you thought were breaking you were actually building the strength you needed for the future God had prepared. Until then, stay faithful, stay humble, stay hopeful. Keep praying even when answers seem delayed. Keep loving even after disappointment. Keep forgiving even after betrayal. Keep believing that God's timing is wiser than your own, because the one who began a good work in you is faithful, and he is not finished yet. Listen carefully. There is something you must never forget. The deepest wounds often become the places where God's healing shines the brightest. You never asked for the betrayal. You never prayed to be misunderstood. You never wanted to walk through nights where silence felt heavier than words. Yet somehow, through every disappointment, your heart kept reaching toward God. Not because you had every answer, but because you knew there was nowhere else to go. Faith is not proven when everything makes sense. Faith is revealed when nothing does. There were days when you wondered if heaven had gone quiet. You prayed. You waited. You searched for direction. Nothing seemed to change. The circumstances remained the same. The people remained the same. The problems remained the same. But something inside you began to change. And that was the miracle you almost missed. Sometimes God transforms the person before he transforms the situation. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough is not around you. It begins within you. Hear this clearly. The world teaches people to become harder after heartbreak. God teaches his children to become wiser. The world says revenge will satisfy. God teaches forgiveness. The world says protect your pride. God teaches humility. The world says chase recognition. God teaches faithfulness. That is why your journey feels different. You are not walking the same road as everyone else. You are learning lessons that cannot be taught in comfort. Every tear has become a teacher. Every delay has become a classroom. Every closed door has become an invitation to trust God more deeply. Think about all the moments when you believed everything was falling apart. Then look back. How many of those painful moments eventually protected you? How many disappointments kept you from making choices that would have led you away from God's best? How many relationships ended because they were never meant to follow you into your next season? At the time, it felt like loss. Now you can begin to see the wisdom. God was removing what could not remain. That process is painful. But pruning has always come before greater growth. Listen carefully. Not everyone who walks beside you is walking toward the same destination. Some people celebrate your comfort. Few celebrate your calling. Your calling will challenge people, not because you are trying to be different, but because your life begins to reflect different priorities. You become less interested in impressing people, more interested in pleasing God, less concerned with being noticed, more concerned with being faithful, less controlled by fear, more guided by peace. That kind of change cannot stay hidden forever. People notice it. Some are inspired by it. Some are uncomfortable because of it. Do not let either response become your identity. Stay focused. Stay grounded. Stay humble. Remember where your strength comes from. It comes from the Lord. Hear this clearly. The enemy often attacks what heaven intends to use. That does not mean you should live in fear. It means you should live with wisdom. Protect your heart. Guard your thoughts. Choose carefully what you allow to shape your mind. Every day you are planting seeds. Seeds of fear, or seeds of faith. Seeds of bitterness, or seeds of forgiveness. Seeds of worry, or seeds of trust. The harvest will reflect what you have continued to plant. So plant hope. Plant kindness. Plant truth. Plant courage. Even when the ground feels dry. Especially when the ground feels dry. Because faith is not waiting until you see fruit. Faith is continuing to sow while trusting God with the harvest. Listen carefully. There is a quiet strength growing inside you. Not the strength that demands attention. The strength that remains steady during storms. The strength that continues praying after disappointment. The strength that keeps loving after rejection. The strength that keeps believing after delay. That strength is precious. Do not underestimate it. The strongest trees are not built during sunny days. They become strong because they survive difficult seasons. The same is true for your soul. Every challenge has deepened your roots. Every hardship has stretched your faith. Every trial has reminded you that your foundation cannot rest on temporary things. It must rest on God. Hear this clearly. There are people watching your life without telling you. They notice how you respond under pressure. They notice how you speak after being hurt. They notice whether your faith disappears when life becomes difficult. You may never know how your perseverance encourages someone else. Sometimes your greatest testimony is simply refusing to give up. You keep walking, you keep praying, you keep trusting, and someone else discovers hope because they saw your endurance. Never believe your faithfulness is meaningless. God often uses quiet obedience more than public recognition. The world remembers famous moments. Heaven remembers faithful ones. Listen carefully. Comparison is one of the greatest thieves of peace. Do not compare your hidden season with someone else's visible harvest. You have not seen their journey. They have not seen yours. God writes every story differently. Your timing is not late. Your preparation is not forgotten. Your purpose is not smaller because it takes longer. Some blessings require deeper roots. Some callings require greater character. God knows exactly what He is preparing you for. Trust Him, even when you cannot trace every step, even when the path seems uncertain, even when tomorrow remains hidden. Trust Him. Hear this clearly. There is freedom waiting on the other side of surrender. The moment you stop trying to control everything, peace begins to grow. The moment you release the need to understand every delay, joy begins to return. The moment you place your future into God's hands, fear begins to lose its voice. You were never meant to carry every burden alone. Lay it before Him, your questions, your regrets, your disappointments, your dreams, your future. He is able to carry what has been crushing you. Listen carefully. You are not defined by your worst day. You are not defined by your greatest failure. You are not defined by the opinions of people who never understood your heart. Your story is still being written. Grace still speaks. Hope still remains. Mercy is still new every morning. God is still working, even now, especially now. So if your heart feels tired, rest in His promises. If your faith feels small, remember that even small faith can keep you moving forward. If your prayers seem unanswered, do not mistake waiting for abandonment. Sometimes the answer is being prepared before it is revealed. Sometimes the blessing is growing while you are learning patience. Sometimes God is shaping your character so you can carry the very thing you have been praying to receive. One day you will understand why the road became so narrow, why certain people walked away, why some opportunities disappeared, why some prayers took longer than expected. Until then, choose faith over fear, choose hope over despair, choose forgiveness over resentment, choose obedience over convenience. Keep your eyes on Christ. Walk humbly, love generously, stand firmly in truth. Because every season has a purpose. Every tear has meaning. Every prayer matters. Every step of faith counts. And no matter how hidden you feel today, God has not forgotten your name. He sees your faithfulness. He knows your heart. He walks beside you through every valley and every mountaintop. So rise again. Not in your own strength, but in the strength that comes from the one who has been faithful through every chapter of your life. Keep moving forward. Keep believing. Keep trusting. The author of your story is still writing, and his plans are always filled with hope